You just a brief introduction to Scott. So I am going to suspect that most, if not all of you, are aware of Dr. Sparrow's um, paradigm shifting work in the field of dream work, really bringing forward the co-creative paradigm. And today we are very pleased that he is going to share with us how his methodology, the FiveStar method, which is the first systematic methodology working with the co-creative method, how that really facilitates nightmare and trauma resolution. So I'm really looking forward to this. I've had a number of people tell me online how eager they are to learn about this. So Scott has been, as I'm sure most of you are aware, Scott has been active and important in the dream work field for decades now, for many decades now, being the first author in the United States with a published work in lucid dreaming, and a past president of IADS, and teaching counseling students down there in Texas. So I'm, with that very general introduction, I'm very excited. Now, I've had the privilege of working with Scott in terms of his training and learning and being in DreamWorks, his methodology, for a very long time now, for like approaching 30 years. And I want to just say how transformative and healing that's been in my life. And so I'm really excited for all of you to take this, learn a little bit more, and go a little bit more deeply into the potential of co-creative dream work and the FiveStar method. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to you, Scott. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kim. I have so much gratitude for you, Kim, for all the work you've done to help us make DreamStar Institute more than just a website. She has really been amazing in creating the DreamStar community. So if you're interested in networking with people and interacting with them around forums and courses and other kinds of activities, Kim is really the head of all that. She's done a wonderful job. Thank you, Kim. The idea that the dreamer is an active agent in the dream is at the root of our work here. The idea that dreams aren't just given to us. The unconscious doesn't make them and just kind of hatch them on us, but that as the dream unfolds in real time, the dreamer is actively responding, reacting, involving himself or not, without necessarily being aware of that. In fact, I mean, traditionally, most people are not aware of that or not reflective of their own involvement in the dream. So the co-creative paradigm is rather a paradigm shift for most people on the street, at least, who might think of their dreams as something that has to be interpreted by some expert, some mysterious issuance from their deeper self, rather than something that they had helped to make happen. And that kind of accountability and agency is a powerful thing for us, especially in dealing with dreams that are negative. I mean, a lot of dreams are not, in fact, dreams overrepresent violence. We know that through research. And so if we don't discover our agency in our dreams, then we're going to be beset by a lot of unpleasant experiences and wonder, what the heck have I done? Or without any sense of being able to do anything about it. So that is the crux of the matter for us. I think the most important thing before we start is to acknowledge that we see the dream as active, an agent, and that gives him or her a lot of power when it comes to dealing with especially the nightmarish type dreams. In summary, let's look at how the FiveStar method aligns specifically with nightmare and trauma resolution. Those of you who have used the FiveStar method know that it is a generally applicable methodology based on co-creative theory that unpacks a dream in very effective ways. But let's look at how it aligns with our topic today. In step one, we share the dream in the first person present tense. Now, this evokes a lot of feeling in the dreamer as well as anyone who's listening to the dream. This emotion is related to the original dream dissonance that rose up before the dream took form. So we're accessing the very pre-dawn aspect of the dream and gives us an emotional immediacy that helps us
in our next steps of the five-star method. Now, in trauma resolution, non-dream trauma resolution, this is called exposure. And exposure therapy is really at the heart of most modern trauma resolution methodologies. So the five-star method is aligned with trauma resolution methods, but it uses the dream as the way in. And I think the dream gives us a specific, personally tailored, time-conditioned entry point that guards against overexposure and therefore protects the dreamer from having too much of a flood of emotion. Okay, so step 2 is the process narrative, which I mentioned earlier in my presentation, is a big aha for me today because it does tie in with several other theorists who talk about the major metaphor of the dream being the whole dream without content. So the process narrative is something that gives us that sense of a journey without the signposts or without the places that the journeyman stops. So the process narrative is very important for us to reveal to the dreamer because it lays out the process that is before them in the dream. It's a background plot or major metaphor, so to speak, that ties everything together and keeps the dream work integrated rather than partitioned into individual metaphorical analyses. Step 3 is, of course, the heart of the co-creative method, and that's where we focus on dreamer response and the impact the responses have on the dream imagery. This is a very vital part of co-creative theory because it awakens dreamer responsibility and agency, and also gives us a sense of what could happen if the dreamer altered their responses. So it begins to create these branching notions about what the dreamer could have been and what the dream could be in the future, which is very powerful when we're trying to break up this fixity of response to trauma and loss. Okay, very big. So in step 4, the associations explore the minor metaphors or the individual images that arise, again, giving us access to the underlying creative process. If we don't go into the metaphors with feeling and with wholeheartedness, we really lose the connection between ourselves and the original agenda, right? So the minor metaphors are the individual portals through which we connect with and understand the meaning of this experience. Metaphors ground the emotion. They take the vast kind of unwieldy feelings of the dream and ground them in our own experience so that we can relate to it. So instead of chaos and overwhelm, we see a tornado. And so we were able to relate it to actual experience or imagined experience. So this is a very important part of trauma resolution too. In step 5, we encourage them to relive the dream. Dream reliving is a big part of our work because it consolidates the dreamer's capabilities to respond differently in relationship to the dream and to waking life parallels. So this kind of installation and consolidation of agency is very important in trauma loss resolution. So that really wraps it up, how the five-star method does align with trauma and nightmare resolution. Please access the handout on the five-star method, which will be a live link in your PowerPoint copy that will be sent to you.